Well, fantastic, everybody. I know you're just as excited as I am to get on with the learning.
So here's a demonstration that I actually do in front of people. Like if I get 15 or 20 minutes in front of a Rotary group or, women's group or whatever it might be, and I want to demonstrate to them the idea, the concept of what we do, that we work at the underlying causal level and that we don't really care too much about symptoms. I might do something like stand there and say, so if I ask you how you feel today, what are you going to tell me? And most of the time, you're going to say, I feel fine. You're going to say, I feel fine, because you don't have any symptoms at that moment. No, I don't think that's healthy, but most people do. And they never really do anything about their health until what happens? They get a symptom. And it doesn't matter what the symptom is. It could be, tiredness, fatigue, low energy, sinuses, allergies, moodiness, irritability, headaches, or whatever you have. But let's take low energy and fatigue. That's a very, very common one. And so now you ask them how you're doing, and they go, hey, I'm a little tired today. And, they might just shrug it off, or they might do something about it, in which case they'd be just treating the symptoms. They would, for something low energy fatigue, if they're real smart, they'll start getting a better night's sleep and checking out a lot of things like what we might do. But some people are going to just go buy a cup of coffee and say, oh, I feel great now. Yeah, I'm fine. Or that cup of coffee got rid of a headache they had or something. And so they're really just getting back to a state of no symptoms. And symptoms are gone, but we know that if that's all you do, they're going to come back, and sometimes with a vengeance. And if you only ever just keep going back between your symptom and no symptoms, symptom, no symptoms, that something chronic or degenerative is going to take you to the next level down. And you've got pain, sickness, now you're really run down. Well, again, you can take it in your own hands. You can go to the lots of different symptom removal methods and get rid of that. And the same thing will occur. It'll come back often with a vengeance, or new symptoms will appear. Now, eventually, as the story goes, you end up seeing a doctor who diagnoses you with a condition. And then further deterioration, we know this leads to severe disease, if not death. So if this is low energy and fatigue, we'd say, what's on the other side? What's this? Well, that's high energy. And if we continue to improve health and not just chase symptoms, and we don't think no symptoms as being healthy, really strong immune function, cell protection, 100% function, that's the goal. And so, once again, we've demonstrated to our client and to ourselves, how not to chase symptoms by using the wellness meter. Now, this is something that, again, I've done in front of groups, sometimes big groups, and I just use my arm and I just hold my hand up and say, look, here's no symptoms. And then I'll, move it a little bit one way or the other and say, look, here's low energy. And down a little farther, here's the pain, sickness, and eventually down to disease and death. And if this is low energy here, then what's this? And move your hand over. Create a meter right in front of your face and say, look, and so you can get this across to people real easily, and they'll come up to you after that talk and say, hey, I want some of that, some of this over here. And so how do I get on that track?
Now, another thing about that demonstration is there actually is some things you could write down or jot down or try to memorize, about the different levels on the scale, the wellness scale, from 100% function way at the top, all the way down to about halfway, which is where there's still no symptoms. And then finally, we go over into the symptom area. So again, the sort of top of the meter, if you're looking at that video, is no symptoms, but then you drop down into low energy fatigue or other mild symptoms, and eventually all the way down into serious conditions where the only thing you can do is see a doctor. And so that's where the big stick, symptom removal stick comes out. And there's a lot of heavy drugs and surgery and poor prognosis, and then eventually death. So that's what sickness care leads to. When you only work on yourself when you have symptoms, you're generally going to run yourself down. And that's what we don't want. Now, again, last slide here in this very brief introductory video before we get on with the matter at hand is a quick review, and I really hope and stress that you should be doing the 205 and other tests on yourself. And when it comes to going a little bit deeper into someone's health, which you may want to put into your initial package of tests when you take on a new client, is the intestinal permeability test. It will help you to assess healing opportunities. And I'm excited about getting into that, and we're going to go on shortly here. So I'm so proud and so happy for you guys to be here going over this material.